Hey friends, welcome back to Pack Talk with me, Pete Vodden. Um, I want to talk to you guys today about coaching. If you read this week's Pack Perspective, this will be familiar to you. I brought up the topic of coaching because it's gone through a really interesting evolution in the past kind of like 20 years, which I've been around for, unfortunately. I'm that old. But yeah, it's interesting because it's kind of obviously, goes side by side with what's happened in the gym industry. And if you've been a member of a gym in the last 20 years, you'll have seen this transition, this change. And it's been a really interesting one. When I first started out, most gyms were kind of like big box field type gyms, right? So you would go in, you would pay your membership on the door, and it would pretty much just be one big open gym. So think of your kind of like Lifetime or your kind of like Equinoxy type gym or a 24-hour fitness or a any of those big box gyms. It's just a membership on the door. You're going in, you're doing your own thing. There might be some classes, but the classes are more kind of like, they're more that classic kind of like body pump type class or dance to music type class, or it's like an instruction class, but it's definitely not coaching in the sense of what we now know to be coaching. So most gyms were like that. So early 2000s, the 90s into the 2000s, that's what most gyms were. Coaching wasn't really a thing in commercial spaces. When you thought of coaching, you thought about, your football coach or your athletic coach, you're coaching athletes one-to-one because those were the people that needed real coaching. And then, of course, when 2006, 2007, early 2010, 2011, when that all started to come around, you had the CrossFit revolution, which basically put the focus back on coaching. Now, love it or hate it, CrossFit really did change things. It made people pick up the barbell again. It made people do more complicated movements, right? Because we were doing more free motion movements. We weren't using machines as much. Gyms prior to that were mainly based around machines. You were doing leg exercises on a leg press and a leg extension, a leg curl. You were using a chest press machine for pressing the chest and chest flies and pec decks and all that kind of stuff. And cables, which is all awesome. I love it all, so I'm not dissing it. But that's what the majority of gyms were. You went from, the 1950s when people were using barbells and dumbbells mainly into these big commercial spaces, which when Arthur Atlas developed the Nautilus machines, everything became more machine-based. It was more user-friendly. It was much easier for people to just go in and start using it without intimidation. They didn't have to learn how to do stuff. They didn't have to learn how to squat. They didn't have to learn how to deadlift. They didn't have to learn how to bench press. They could just do what the machine told them to do. It was a lot easier, which arguably made it more accessible and got people in and got people moving. But CrossFit really changed things in that it brought the barbell back into play. It brought free weights back into play. It brought gymnastics back into play. It brought a sense of functional movement, which, everyone knows what functional training is now. It's become a word. But back then it wasn't. It became like the thing of like, I'm not going to do anything unless it's functional. So it taught people to move properly again, in terms of like, it taught people to squat properly again. It taught people to hinge properly again. If you wanted to do these movements successfully, you had to learn how to do it properly. Now you can argue in the beginning it wasn't done amazingly well. The best coaches were doing it very well, but not everyone is the best coach. So there was a lot of bad form out there. But nevertheless, the movement was back towards our bodies moving as they were intended to move. Squatting with a barbell, deadlifting properly, things like overhead squats and Olympic lifting came back into the fray. Olympic lifting hadn't really been a thing apart from in very niche circles, and suddenly it was everywhere again. And in order to do that kind of stuff, if you want to do a muscle up, if you want to do a snatch, if you want to do a clean and jerk, you are going to need some coaching. You're not going to be able to just walk in there and do it. So coaching became a thing again. It became a thing of like, if I want to learn how to do this skill, if I want to adapt to a new, thing, a new sport, I'm going to need a coach to get me there. So you valued the input of a good coach to take you from point A to point B. It wasn't just about getting big muscles. It wasn't just about getting lean. It was really about, well, how do I perform these things? And athletic performance came back into the fray. People had missed that sense of sport that they had when they were in college or in school and they did soccer or football or played rugby or they had some kind of team sport that they felt a part of, and they missed that. And of course, when CrossFit came back around, it put people back in group training together, and they were like working out along side by side with people, and they were doing these functional movements, and they wanted to outperform each other. And in order to outperform each other, they had to be coached. So the coach came back into fray, and the coach became very important. And there were a lot of courses that people could go on to become a better coach. There was a big emphasis on that. Like, how do I become a better coach? How do I learn how to teach people better? Whether that be technical, whether that be social, like how do I become a better communicator? And there was a big emphasis. A lot of money was made. A lot of money was exchanged in that field. And a lot of us at the time were very, very interested in doing that. And add to that, it's not just like learning a skill of how do I teach a snatch, or how do I teach a clean and jerk, or how do I teach someone how to do a muscle up? You know, there's a lot of movement specifics that go in there, and a lot of nuances that you need to know about. But you also had to understand and get very good at controlling large groups. Group training, group coaching is a very specific skill set. I've known many personal trainers that have been very good at personal training and awful at training big groups. I've known group coaches that have been awesome at coaching groups but terrible at personal training. I've known a few people that are good at both, but they are different skill sets. And it takes practice and education in both to get good at them. So what you saw was you had, the open gym, then you had personal training. You had some really good companies doing amazing personal training like UP Performance in the UK. Who are now global, like one of the best personal training companies of all time. And you had a lot of good personal trainers in these big box gyms. But you didn't really have really good group coaching until CrossFit and everything else like CrossFit, like Jim Jones, until they started to come around and make this kind of training popular again. That gave birth to a new kind of coach. So for the next kind of 20 years, next kind of like, I guess from 2007 to almost present day, you had this big emphasis on, are you a good coach? If I own a gym, and I want you to come work for me, I need to know that you're a great coach. You're a great communicator. You have technical knowledge and awareness. You can command a room. You can command attention. You can gain respect. All these things, came into play. And those are the questions that were being asked. And we're coming up now to another shift. And the shift is happening because, and this is just my take, obviously this isn't fact, this is just my opinion. A lot of people that went all in on kind of the CrossFit thing, a lot of them kind of got burnt out. A lot of them didn't necessarily get the aesthetic results that they were looking for. And a lot of people got injured. They will deny it to the hilt, but a lot of people did. Trust me, I know these people. And a lot of people just had enough of it. They just kind of got fed up with it. And then they went back to either open gym or personal training, or just a form of training that had a lower demand on the body, like a lower intensity on the body, which is, after a few years is understandable. And, human beings always go to the opposite extremes. Like, this isn't working for me anymore, so I'm going to go all the way over to this side, or this isn't working, so I'm going to go all the way over to this side. When in truth, the magic is always somewhere in the middle. So then you have kind of this resurgence of the bodybuilding gym, which again I love, in tandem with the ongoing desire and need for group training that maybe has slightly less intensive demand than CrossFit, which is why you're seeing accessible things like High Rocks come into fruition. And why things like Orange Theory and F45 became successful, but have also kind of had their day as well, because they were just more accessible. You're still doing like quote unquote functional things. You're still moving, but it's less demanding than CrossFit, and definitely less skillful. So you could just kind of jump in and get going rather than, spending a lot of time learning a skill before and be able to actually work out with the skill. And then you come to where we are now. Which is essentially, what I keep calling the hybrid gym, which is essentially the sweet spot between them all. You have the functional bodybuilding side of it, You also still have the CrossFit side of it. You also have the resurgence of the running community, which has been huge in recent years. Just think of all the run clubs you now know that have now sprouted up. You have all these kind of things coming together, and the customer wanting, access to all these things. So you're seeing that. You're seeing the resurgence of gyms that offer all of those things, and you're seeing an advancement in that field. And you're also seeing the development and growth of these huge, like multiplex style gyms, like Lifetime have grown exponentially in the last few years. Essentially, them and Equinox are now just a giant real estate company who can open these huge facilities. If you've ever been to a big Lifetime, they have childcare, they have racquetball courts, they have tennis courts, they have swimming pools, almost like water parks now. They have restaurants, they have, everything in there. So the member can go in and experience everything on offer, which, broadly sounds great, right? You've got access to all this stuff for one fee, whatever, albeit like fairly expensive. It's certainly not cheap. And some places now are also offering like a doctor, a dentist, like blood work, naturopaths, like all this other stuff that you can now get all in one place, which is very convenient for people. It's its own ecosystem that you can get all this stuff done. Now, the problem with that, is it comes back to why CrossFit became successful in the first place, because essentially what happens is you lose the sense of community. You can hold on to community and that kind of mom and pop feel that we always go for up to a certain number. And I basically put that number at 1,000. Once you get over 1,000, it gets very, very hard to say like we're one big community, because really, you get groups within groups. Everybody's kind of doing different things. It's impossible to know everybody. Not everybody knows anybody's names anymore, and it just becomes a different animal. Whereas the idea of the classic kind of CrossFit type gym was a small group of people, let's say 300 people, that all kind of knew each other. You might be in different classes, but you would know the people in your class, and you would see the other people around, and you'd have socials, and you'd meet people, and you'd have conversations, and it would be fun. And you'd have barbecues, and you'd have beach days and that kind of stuff. And you had this kind of like social culture that was built out of the gym. That was super fun and amazing. And once you get to a certain size of gym, you lose that. And it's something that big box gyms will never be able to capture in the way that we can, which is why we try and make Pharos these kind of like sub 1,000 member gyms, because we want to hold on to that feeling. We want to hold on to that sensation of mom and pop, community, have social events, make it fun, get to know people, get to have good conversations. And we don't want to lose that. So we like to keep it a certain size with a certain amount of people. Now, add to that, we are a coached service at heart. So we have an awesome open gym, an incredible open gym. We have personal training. We now have semi-private training. But we also have this coached experience, which is really our bread and butter. And the coached experience is invaluable for a number of reasons. One reason is, of course, motivation. Like, it's a lot easier to show up for other people and to be around your peers and to have a coach who's stimulating you, and for it to be fun and engaging and have good atmosphere and have good energy. So that's one part of it. You need that. The other part of it is just like, it's a lot safer to be coached and be under the watchful eye of someone who knows what they're talking about to make sure you're doing things correctly and not going to hurt yourself. The other is someone who's there to get the best out of you. We are all guilty when we're on our own of performing in a substandard way. I'm guilty of it. I go in the gym on my own. Sometimes it takes me 3 hours to do a 40-minute workout because I'm taking too much rest. I'm getting hit with emails. I'm getting hit with questions. People are talking to me. I'm just getting distracted. It's very easy for those sessions to get away from you. Whereas when you're in a coached class for an hour, it's a start, it's a finish, it's a warm-up, it's a strength piece, it's an accessory piece, and it's a finisher. And we're all in it together. We're all on the clock, and the coach is driving us through it, and there's music playing. And that is the coached experience. And that's the energy that drives the club. And that's what really brings people together. And I've said it many times, but there's nothing like the gym for making people, suffer together. And once people suffer together, it breaks down all boundaries. It breaks down all barriers. Doesn't matter where you come from. Doesn't matter your background, your economic background, what you do for a living. None of it matters. All that matters is that moment that you're in the struggle. You're on the struggle bus together. You're sweating it out. You're trying to get the job down. You're understanding how hard it is for yourself, so you know how hard it is for somebody else. You're helping them through it. They're helping you through it. That is kind of the magic of the group experience, and that's why it's so effective. And that's why most people will perform a lot better in that kind of environment and be a lot more consistent with it, as long as they're not getting, overtrained and burnt out. So that's really important to us. And what I found personally as a gym owner is there are less and less great coaches. We try our best to find them. We have found them. We have sought them out, and we continue to seek them out. But there are less and less people now, it seems, who are seeking that kind of education that prepares them to be a great coach. Because you need education, you need experience, you need desire, you need passion, and you need kind of on the ground, in the trenches knowledge of this kind of work. And a lot of people now are trying to get their knowledge from TikTok, from social media, listening to influencers, listening to bro science, which I love. Just kidding. But it's becoming a different thing, and it's becoming a different skill set. Now that you might be able to get away with, training your best friend to get a bigger chest, doing it that way, like relatively simple, right? But you are going to be a long way from being able to command a room of 20 people who all have different levels, who all have different skill sets, who want different things, who all want different music, who all are at a different level and are there for a very different reason and in a very different time in their life. And being able to gel those people together and drive them through a workout and pull the best out of them and make them come back tomorrow wanting more. That's a skill. And that's a skill that must be earned and practiced over and over again. And that requires a standard that needs to be kept up and needs to be checked in on and needs to be evaluated. And that's my job, and that's our job as business owners. But yeah, it worries me right now that this is becoming a lost art. And I really hope people get back to it. And that there's a new breed of young coaches coming through that can help us run companies like this. Because like I said, it's not something you can just walk into and do. I've known, again, I have people I know now that are, they've been in the industry for years, but maybe they've been a gym owner and a personal trainer for years, not a group trainer, and having to relearn that skill if they want to come and work at Pharos Athletic Club. And it's very, very, very challenging, because if you're not used to it, it's a whole new, oh shit, this is a different environment, and I got to organize things. I need to prepare the room. I need to organize the room. I need to visualize, what does this look like? This problem, how do I deal with it? That problem, how do I deal with it? How do I deal with it all in real time and keep things ticking along? I'm on the clock. I got an hour. How do I deliver this amazing product in a finite amount of time and have everyone going away thinking, fuck, that was awesome? That is the challenge. So, if you do go to a gym and you do experience that and you do get that, then be grateful for it, because it is an art and it is a skill. It's very challenging and very difficult to be a great coach. And we have a lot of great coaches, thankfully. And I know a lot of great coaches, not just at Pharos, at other gyms as well. So I'm not saying, there aren't any good coaches anymore, because there definitely are. All I'm saying is, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, everyone was looking for these certifications that would make them a better coach and a better communicator. And I just feel like right now, there's just less of it, less people willing to go spend money on courses, go learn, fly. I would fly from the UK to Salt Lake City multiple times a year just to learn. I'd spend thousands on education, on flights, on hotels, dodgy hotels, but hotels. And, just to learn, just to be a better coach. And, it took a lot. But, I was passionate about it. I really wanted to do it. I really wanted to learn. I really wanted to grow. I wanted to be the best coach that I could be, so that, I could help as many people as I could. And I want people to remember that is the job of the coach. Like, if you're looking to get into the industry and you're looking to help people, remember the primary goal is to help people with their journey and to take them from point A to point B to point C to point D, and to help them evolve and to help them grow. It's not about you and about Instagram and about TikTok. It's about you helping them. And it's just taking a weird direction right now. And I really just, like I said, I do really hope people get back to wanting to become great coaches again. And I hope there's a new generation that are coming through that really want that. And I hope, with these new emerging like disciplines, like high rocks and like, these running communities that are coming along. And I hope CrossFit gets back to a stronger place. And I hope that the popularity of those things drives new coaches, and the new coaches come in thinking like, oh, I'd love to get people better at this. How can I do that? Again, how can I become more educated? How can I become a better communicator? How can I command a room better? How can I help people better with nutrition? How can I understand nutrition better? All these things, if you truly, honestly want to help someone and help groups of people, you ask yourself all these different questions in order to become the best coach that you can be. So if you're coming into the industry and you want to be a great coach, seek out the best courses, travel, be open, learn as much as you can, listen, take classes from great coaches, see what they do, see how they command the room, see what energy they create, see what magic they can muster. Because when you see a really, really good coach in action, command a room, it is kind of, it's an aura. It's a special thing to see someone like that. I compare it to like, you can see, it's not about faith, but if you see like a really good priest or preacher, like command a congregation and lift up the congregation, it's kind of like that. Like you have that power as a coach to rise people up like that. And it's a special thing. It's a powerful thing, but it takes a certain kind of person with a certain kind of experience and a certain kind of desire. So if you want to get into the industry, do that, be that, become that. Don't rely on social media. Don't rely on TikTok. Don't rely on Instagram. They're fine. They're tools. It's a way to get in, but get some good education, get some good experience, and learn as much as you possibly can. And I hope, with Pharos and as we grow, we will continue to try and raise the standard as much as possible. Like I said, we are obviously this hybrid gym, and our goal is to be the best hybrid gym in the world. So we combine all these things with the group training, with the personal training, with the semi-private training, with the open gym, with the run clubs and stuff like this. And our goal is to be the best at all of that and to have high standards across the board and all of that. That's why we're always looking for the best coaches. So if you are a great coach or you want a great career in fitness, then please reach out. We're always looking for great new people. Whether you want to be a coach, whether you want to be more kind of like front of house, whether you're more interested in management, whatever it is, if you're passionate about fitness and truly passionate and want to make a difference, then we'd always love to hear from you. So always reach out. That's it for today, guys. Again, if you saw the pack perspective this week, kind of the same topic, but I think it's an interesting time. And I hope we come out of it again with some more great coaches, and that this kind of like little dip that I've seen recently goes away, and that we have a new generation of great coaches coming through. All right, guys, come see us if you want to take part in one of these great coaching sessions that I'm talking about. Come see us at any of our gyms: Palm Springs, Redondo, Echo Park, Idlewild. It's all here for you. We'd love to see you, whether you're a drop-in, whether you're a regular member. It's always great to have you. All people are welcome. And hopefully I'll see you all in the gym soon. Go to our YouTube channel if you can. Give that a like. I'm putting up a ton of content right now, so check that out. Check out our Instagram pages: Echo Park, Redondo, Idlewild, Palm Springs. They all have their own individual Instagram pages. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the gym soon. Until then, take care. Bye.